So what on earth is going on at Liverpool? A season that kicked off with so much optimism seems to be in a total tailspin. And let me tell you, a big part of the fan base has had enough. Today, we're going to break down the perspective coming from the fan channel Anfield Agenda to really get to the bottom of what they see as a full-blown crisis.
And this quote right here, it just says it all, doesn't it? This isn't just a bit of disappointment over a few bad games. This is pure frustration. It's that feeling of being completely at the end of your rope, watching a season that looked so promising just fall apart.
So, how did it get this bad? Well, to really understand this point of view, we're going to trace their whole argument. We'll start with the one match that really seemed to light the fuse. Then, we'll dig deep into the case they're building against the manager. After that, we'll look at the pretty radical solution that's being whispered about. And finally, we'll see how all this chaos is messing with the team's future.
All right, so let's start with the flashpoint. For the folks at Anfield Agenda, the absolute breaking point was that chaotic 2-1 loss away at Wolves. But for them, that result wasn't the disease itself. It was just a symptom of something much, much deeper going wrong at the club. See, their analysis isn't really about the final score. It's about how they lost. They use words like boring and turgid. They felt the performance had no motivation, no clear tactical plan, and worst of all, just a complete lack of effort.
And notice how the criticism is being spread all over the pitch. It's not just one person. We're talking about a star keeper like Alisson making a panicked mistake you'd never expect from him. Mohamed Salah's attitude is being called out, saying it stunk. And the midfield? Well, the source says the gaps were so big you could drive an articulated lorry through them. That's not good.
In the eyes of Anfield Agenda, these aren't just a bunch of random, individual mistakes. No, they're all symptoms, and their diagnosis points the finger directly at one person, the manager, Arne Slot.
A huge part of their case against him comes down to what he says after the matches. They see his calls for patience and complaints about how other teams play as just excuses. They feel it's all meant to deflect from his own tactical failures and what they call a cowardly decision not to start a promising young talent.
This quote really gets to the heart of the frustration. The manager is complaining about a style of play that, in their opinion, his team should be totally ready to deal with. It has this feeling of, are you for real?
And this slide just lays out that contradiction perfectly. On one side, you have the manager's complaint. On the other, you have the stats of his best defender, Virgil van Dijk. The argument is pretty simple. How can long balls be your big problem when you've got the #1 guy in the entire league for dealing with them? It just doesn't add up.
So for Anfield Agenda, this is way beyond tactics or results now. The verdict is personal and it's final. The argument is that the manager's whole character, his personality, or what they see as a lack of it, is just fundamentally wrong for a club like Liverpool.
Okay, so if the manager is the problem, then what's the solution? Well, this is where the fan theory gets really interesting. It suggests a complete top-to-bottom revolution is actually being planned behind the scenes.
The argument is that the clues aren't in any official press releases. No, they're hidden in plain sight, right inside the club's transfer strategy. The theory is that Liverpool is already putting the pieces in place for a future under a new manager, and that manager is Xabi Alonso. And here's the supposed proof. The source points out this fascinating pattern in the players Liverpool are being linked with. Every single one of these major defensive targets has one thing in common. They're all a perfect fit to play on the left side of a three-man defense, which just so happens to be the system Xabi Alonso is famous for.
So this line of thinking says this isn't just some coincidence. It suggests a deliberate, club-wide plan is in motion. The evidence trail, they say, connects the first-team transfer targets, a possible buyback of a player already killing it in Alonso's system, and even tactical changes being made way down at the academy level. Everything seems to be pointing in the exact same direction.
Now, this kind of drama behind the scenes, it always spills out onto the pitch. And, as the source explains, all this uncertainty around the manager is now creating a ton of speculation about the futures of some of the club's biggest stars. One of the biggest talking points is Mohamed Salah's potential exit. The source highlights rumors that the Saudi Pro League is interested, but might only be willing to pay around 40 million euros. That number, which feels surprisingly low, is only adding more fuel to the fire that he could actually be leaving this summer. And it's not just Salah. This sense of crisis is made worse by all the rumors swirling around other key players. Now, the source kind of waves away the idea of Dominic Szoboszlai leaving, but the fact that it's even a conversation adds to the instability. Meanwhile, Trent Alexander-Arnold is reportedly getting absolutely slammed in the Spanish media, which just goes to show you moving clubs isn't always an easy out.
So, this is where it all leads. The narrative laid out by Anfield Agenda is crystal clear. They see a club in decline under its current manager, with a radical cure just waiting in the wings. It really leaves us with this one big question. Is such a dramatic change truly what's needed, or is this just the understandable sound of a fan base in panic, watching their great team stumble?